Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alicia Bolton, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar about Minds That Move Us and the Adult Career Pathway Festival that's coming up this August 6th through 8th in Miami, Florida. So we've got a great agenda lined up for today's conversation, but I first want to introduce you to today's speakers. We have Monica Groves, who is a project manager of prize operations at the Adult Literacy X Prize. Sharon Bonney, who is the Chief Executive Officer for the Coalition for Adult Basic Education, or COABE, and is also an MTMU partner. Pat Tyler, who's the Executive Director for the National Association for State Directors of Adult Education, or NASD, which is also an MTMU partner. I also have my colleagues from the Institute for Educational Leadership, Johan Uven, who serves as president, and Sabrina Sheck, who serves as the executive to the president, and myself, who is the director of the Minds That Move Us initiative. So in terms of what we'll cover today, we'll provide a brief overview of the project, followed by a moderated panel on the value of competition to spark innovation in adult education. Then we'll take a quick glance at the teams, as well as present some highlights for the upcoming festival. Then we'll conclude with how to nominate an everyday job hero, as well as event logistics, so that you don't miss this one-of-a-kind event. With that, I want to just ask that people hold their questions until the end of the presentation. And if you feel inclined, you can put your name and your question into the chat box that you should see on your screen. So with that, is everybody ready? Yes, great. So what is Minds That Move Us, or MTMU? It's a series of challenges that challenges to communities to design innovative education and training models that create social equity and economic mobility for all. It's an initiative that was started by IEL, or the Institute for Educational Leadership, to really challenge and incentivize communities to find pressing innovative solutions to their education and training issues. And you know, this initiative brings together many players, such as educators, community-based organizations, workforce development boards, business and industry partners, as well as students themselves, who are the most important piece of the puzzle, as well as governmental agencies, who are collaborating to innovate and think outside of the box to generate solutions that will have an impact for their communities and their families. So the first challenge that we'll spend the bulk of today talking about is the Adult Career Pathway Design Challenge, which, with initial funding from the ECMC Foundation and in partnership with COABE and the National Association of State Directors, was intended to design and identify career pathway innovations for adults 26 and over who do not have any formal post-secondary training or education and lack the skills necessary to put themselves on a career path. And among other things, we were looking to find the brightest and boldest ideas that address credential attainment, academic and wraparound supports, and work-based learning, just to name a few. The challenge officially kicked off last June of 2018 with an application process to identify the best ideas from communities around the country. And to our amazement and surprise, we ended up getting over 118 applications. And out of that 118, we identified 10 finalists who have been working since that time to fine-tune their original ideas. And here's a glimpse of what they've been up to over the last nearly year. First, in August, they started with a design camp that took place in Nashville, Tennessee, where they had a chance to hear from subject matter experts on a range of key topics, such as credentialing and innovative design for learning, or universal design for learning, excuse me. They were also paired with a coach and had the opportunity to learn and network with other teams in order to bolster their ideas. All of this great work has been in preparation for the first ever Adult Career Pathways Festival, which will be taking place this August 6th through 8th in Miami, Florida, where teams will have the opportunity to pitch their ideas to a panel of expert judges coming from workforce, education, as well as the employer community, as well as a live audience for a chance to win $100,000. Yes, that's right. 3 of the 10 teams will win $100,000 each as a prize for their creativity and to kickstart their idea. So we're super excited about the progress, but you may be wondering, why was a challenge like this necessary in the first place? And to answer that question, I'll invite Monica, Sharon, and Pat to join the conversation and to share their thoughts on how and why competition can be used to spark innovation in adult education. So, Sharon, I'm going to start with you. Who are adult students, and why is innovation in career pathways for adult education needed?
Right. So, hello, everybody. It's nice to be with you today. Our adult learners, our adult students are really at the heart of everything that we do. And we know that for them, there's been few opportunities offered. And so I think this is what's really exciting about this competition, because we're really looking for the best and brightest ideas that at the end of the day are going to help those adult learners to get jobs, to get out there in the community and be in the workforce. So that's what I found most exciting when Johan and I talked about this with Pat Tyler, was that we would be able to really look at exciting, challenging ways that the community is coming together to put together ideas that will work for that adult learner at the end of the day. And I think competition is always exciting, because when people are competing, they're really innovating, they're really coming up with new ideas, or maybe it's an idea they've always had that they want, if they just could have the funding, they'd be able to implement it. And that's what this project does, is that it gives the funding that's necessary. But in the meantime, people get to put their big ideas out there for the public. So that's why we joined on. We just feel like it's an excellent idea. And really, in the long run, what we'll probably see is a lot more competitions like this. That's what we're hopeful on the COAB side, that this is just one of many. You know, it's kind of like that model that's out there now that other organizations and other foundations can support.
Well, Sharon, thank you so much. Pat, how about you? What's your take on question number 1?
Okay, well, the question asks, who are the adult ed students, and why is innovation in career pathways needed? The adult ed students just cover a really broad spectrum of ages and abilities. The bulk of the students are in the prime working age, and you know, as adult education is in a whole new world from where it started out with, where we're focusing on what's the real reason behind an adult coming back for more education, you know, after they have left school. And if you talk to them for a while, yes, they want to complete something that they never completed when they were younger, but they're also looking at a way to improve their quality of life. And they see that as the connection between education, skills training, and their opportunities for employment. So on the other hand, we have a unique situation now where we have employers who have so many jobs that can't be filled because they can't find the skilled employees to do the work. So creating unique solutions to marry the available employment opportunities with the skills and abilities of our students that just need to be developed is really, really exciting to those of us who have been in adult education for a while. And this particular challenge challenges teams to compete for the funding, but also to create unique solutions to their individual community problems. So we know there are models and there are templates for how you create a career pathways and what you need in terms of certifications and so on and so forth, and you know, what percentages of the programming needs to be academic versus training. So there are lots of great templates, But what this challenge does is invite teams to look at a unique situation in their community and to create a solution around it, whatever the particular industry needs are and the skill abilities that are available to work with. So, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. That was wonderful, and thank you, Sharon. Monica, let's go to you next. How can incentivizing a cohort of community teams to compete for the best idea be used as a vehicle to spark innovation?
Definitely. In our experience here at the Adult Literacy X Prize, incentivizing not only put much needed funds back into adult education, but it also created a community and it really motivated educators to think outside the box and embrace technology as a means to expand access to learners. Our competition is a global competition, and we have to have people like increase literacy gains for those reading about a third grade level or below in like 12 months. And so what we've done is create a community of individuals and organizations who are using their collective power to really transform lives. And in that community, it's been really diverse. For the Adult Literacy X Prize, our teams didn't all come pre-packaged as a group of people who already knew each other or who worked together. Some of our teams met using our prize operations platform. One of our finalists, Auto Cognita, that team is comprised of members from Hong Kong and the state of Washington. We even had a team that was comprised of middle school students. We had Team Nimble Minds out of Arkansas, where the middle school did the programming, and the people who worked at the Literacy Council of Garland County actually did the content and curriculum. And even with having international teams, Team Auto, I'm Ready to Create, they're one of our finalists. They're based in India, but they developed an app for this competition that's specifically used amongst native speakers of English and Spanish here in the US. And we even had some teams that consisted of individuals. So it lets you know how all the diversity of voices and experiences and competencies come together to create really great things. They really brought unique experiences and perspectives, and really wanted to move the needle to make sure that resources and education were attainable for those who were sometimes hardest to reach. And our teams even treated each other like friends and colleagues rather than competitors. And we did have some instances where there were some teams that were willing to share opportunities that weren't right for their organization with their other competitors, because they really realized that they were all working together for the same goal and the same why. So I think creating that community allows for things to be long-lasting beyond the competition for those who work in the industry and who are really passionate about giving back and using their expertise to really improve outcomes when it comes to education and job preparedness.
Wonderful, thank you, Monica. A point that you mentioned about all working together for the same why, that really resonated with me, and it's really kind of the hallmark of this challenge, where our tagline is to collaborate to innovate. And I think, you know, the passion that we all share around this work is really what keeps us going. And I think, you know, what we'll see in the festival is that true collaboration really does result in the very best solutions. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'd like to turn back to Pat and ask, you know, what's been the most exciting part of the challenge so far, from your lens? And to answer that question, you can reflect on things that you've heard from teams, partners, and or the field. And I'm just gonna, before you start, I'm just gonna ask if everybody can make sure that their phone is on mute. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm really delighted to have been able to watch this develop and watch the teams develop. The challenge has asked adult ed providers and stakeholders, like a whole community of people, not just the educators, but you know, business and industry and you know, social services programs. There's been student input, so it's a whole community that has been involved in creating these unique, innovative solutions to the challenges around the tried and true model of career pathways, where you bring education, training, support services, and you know, the opportunity to work for a specific goal in terms of employment. So it's been exciting for the teams to be able to look at their unique situation and have someone say, hey, what would be the ideal solution to this if the sky is the limit? So that's been exciting for the teams, and the excitement has really and truly been contagious. So so teams are looking at things like in my community, in my region, what are the industry needs? Where are the employment opportunities that go unfilled? What fields of work do we need skilled workers? And also, what are the unique challenges that are faced by our previously underserved populations in order for them to access these opportunities? So it's been really energizing to watch teams coalesce around this, and it's I love the collaborate to innovate, because that's exactly what's happened. And that's not always an easy goal to achieve, but the teams have been just absolutely wonderful to watch. The energy is fantastic.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pat. And how about you, Sharon? From your perspective, what's been the most exciting part?
Wow, there's been a lot of really exciting pieces for me. I think just seeing all of those applications come in and reading all of the exciting ideas that had been put forward, that was really interesting. But then seeing these 10 teams that were selected, and all the heart and the thought that's gone into it on their end, that's been pretty exciting, because I'm just watching these great ideas take form and seeing what the teams are moving forward with. But then I have to say, the other piece that we have found exciting on our end is providing the support for this initiative, being the disseminator of the information, getting it out in mass to all the contacts that we have, has been that we've really enjoyed that piece of it. We feel that that's something that's a way that we can really support the initiative well. So I think that's kind of threefold in that way. It's just seeing all the ideas that came in, then those that were selected, watching them build their teams and build the different programs that they're working on. And then that third piece, being that disseminator of getting information out and seeing how the field has responded to that, has been really amazing, very exciting. I cannot wait to see who's going to attend the festival. I just think that's going to be a real culmination of efforts by so many people.
Thank you, Sharon. You really bring up a great point about the dissemination piece. We'll spend a little bit of time in just a few minutes talking about what's actually going to happen at the festival, which will be a ton of fun. But we're putting as much effort into thinking about what happens after the festival. So this isn't just about, shining a light on 10 great innovations, but we're really thinking strategically about how to empower other practitioners, policymakers, funders, and other colleagues to support, replicate, and scale some of this work. So you bring up a really great point, because the Minds That Move Us family, if you will, is bigger than just the 10 teams. It's bigger than COAVE, NASD, and IEL. It's really about everybody who decides they want to be a part of it, so that they too can find the innovative solutions that will really empower their communities. So on that note, I just want to close out with you, Monica. What are some lessons learned from the X Prize that might be applicable to this challenge?
Definitely. Lessons learned or best practices is to put the learner first. And with that, you will be pretty successful, because you'll be willing to engage on all levels, from government to small volunteer-run programs, and actively recruiting learners to your team, because their insight can be really, really helpful in content creation to make sure that it's appropriate when it comes to, what are things that adults are interested in reading. They may not be interested in learning something very base. The content is very based, or some content is geared towards an elementary and middle school crowd. So you want to make sure that your content actually speaks to your learners. And also you want to be careful for cultural nuances, making sure that your learners are actively there and they're able to bring their voice, because also they can help with creating goals and outcomes based on what their personal goals may be for taking classes or using the technology developed. I think that's really important. And then consult with experts to keep your finger on the pulse of trends in the industry and to provide counsel. And one thing that we found that was very, very beneficial was to convene our team. As stated earlier, some of our teams treated each other like colleagues and friends instead of competitors, and that camaraderie just really led to opportunities where they connected to be able to do presentations or pitches with companies working as two companies who have apps that are different, very beneficial to adult learners, and also being able to pass on opportunities to other teams that may not be the best fit for their organization. So convening the teams allows them to have that transference and that sharing of energy and positive vibes and passions. And when you get there and you realize, yeah, we're from different organizations or different countries in different states in the US, but what we do is similar, and you may be able to find opportunities to continue to build that community once your teams are able to convene via virtual community summits or face-to-face physical community summits.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Monica. Well, there you have it, folks. These esteemed panelists, they said it much better than I could have on my own. But hopefully, as a result of their words, you really understand not only the need for a challenge like this, but the potential for a challenge like this. And we're so excited about what's coming next at the festival. So we're going to switch gears a little bit to talk about the innovations themselves and what we ask teams to focus on in response to the complex issues that you just heard about. First and foremost, we ask teams to think boldly about how to devise career pathways for adults that would align to growing and emerging careers. And that would offer some connection to post-secondary education and credentials, as well as secondary credentials for those adults who lack them upon entry. In addition to that, we ask teams to think about work-based learning and wraparound supports, so that they were really thinking holistically about how to support the adults that would be the beneficiaries of these programs. Because as we all know, life gets more complex, not less complex, as you begin to get older. And so adults are dealing with a variety of issues, not only related to themselves and their families, things like childcare, elder care, perhaps there may be a disability that they may need accommodations for, but there's a whole host of issues that sometimes can get in the way of trying to reach that goal that Pat talked about in some of her remarks. And as I mentioned before, we really, really were amazed at the excitement that was generated by this challenge. We had over 100 applications, and from that, we narrowed the 10 finalists who truly, in our opinion, had the boldest ideas. I don't want to give away too much of their work because you have to come to the festival to learn more. But from the table presented before you, you can see the breadth and depth of the work. We have urban, rural, and suburban teams across a variety of industry sectors, such as healthcare, automotive, advanced manufacturing, hospitality, baking, construction. And we also have some teams that are working on a variety of industries. And while they are all focused on adults 26 and over, they are targeting their efforts within this broader group. And so, again, I don't want to give away too much. I just wanted to give a little bit of teaser, but we have a really diverse representation here. If you're interested in learning more specifically about their innovations, I would encourage folks to visit our website. There's a hyperlink provided on the slide. And I think I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we will be making a playback of this available. But, we're really encouraged and excited to hear about the great things that they're going to be pitching at the festival. So with that, let's talk about what's going to be happening in good old Miami, Florida. First of all, learning, networking, and a ton of fun. We are going to start off the event with, on Tuesday, August 6th, with a curated learning journey for the first 40 leaders who sign up. That learning journey will entail site visits and conversations with some local career pathways experts and leaders. And so it'll be a great opportunity to get some hands-on exposure to some of the great work that we're seeing down in Miami. One of the stops that we'll be making along that journey is going to be at Miami-Dade College, who has identified 3 programs that we're going to have an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with. And following that, we'll officially kick off the event with an opening reception that will feature the announcement of the winners of our Everyday Job Heroes, which we will tell you a little bit more about in just a moment. And we'll also have an opening talk. We're in conversations with Cheryl Dorsey, who many of you may know as being the founder of Echoing Green. She is a phenomenal speaker, and so one that you don't want to miss. She's coming from, or she will be bringing a social entrepreneurship lens to the conversation, because in many ways, these 10 teams, they are entrepreneurs themselves and have applied entrepreneurial thinking to think boldly and brightly about what can happen to improve the lives of adults within their community. The event itself will be emceed by Lisa Lee Arnell, who is a well-known communications expert and TV host in the Miami area, and so she's going to be a great MC for the event, who'll keep us on track and keep everyone glued into all the happenings throughout the 3 days. Moving on to Wednesday, which we're calling Election Day or Pitch Day, our 10 finalists, they'll pitch their innovative career pathway ideas to you and to our judges. And your vote will count towards the hundreds of dollars and resources that they're going to be competing for. As I mentioned earlier, 3 of the 10 teams will be selected to win the $100,000, and so it's really exciting. If there are any fans of Shark Tank or America's Got Talent, I just want to let you know that we have studied those shows and we have tried to pick the best and brightest features of those high energy shows, if you will, and we've applied it to this event. So come prepared not only to learn, but again, to have fun. After the pitches occur in the morning, we'll move into a lunch and policy talk on the vital practices that are necessary to create bold and future-ready career pathways, followed by what we're calling the startup game, where we'll feature an interactive panel with national experts from foundations and investment firms on how to think about financing not only the implementation of great ideas, but sustaining that implementation. So this is going to be applicable to anybody in the audience, whether you're a practitioner, funder, policymaker, who's really thought about how to support and as I mentioned before, sustain a bold idea. And we know from experience that sometimes that is the trickiest part, or one of the trickiest parts to having a great idea, finding the funding for it. Then we'll close out the day with a gallery walk where where attendees will have an opportunity to meet and greet with the 10 teams themselves, as well as exhibitors, and then cast their final vote. Moving on to Thursday, August 8th, we'll resume early in the morning with the innovator's dilemma, which is how to scale breakthrough program models. So in addition to the funding piece that I mentioned as related to the startup game, this panel will focus on some of the other challenges and considerations that often occur when trying to scale innovative ideas. We'll move from there into a conversation about student-centered design and how to really ensure this. Monica brought up a good point, an excellent point really, which is that students really need to be at the center of the design process in order to have an idea that's going to work for them and that is going to last beyond the first couple of years. And so as part of that conversation, we're actually going to have some of the students who are part of the programs that the 10 teams are pitching, which will be really interesting to get their take on what it was like to be such an integral part of the teams. Finally, we'll conclude on Thursday with a lunch and a cutting edge technology talk on adult career pathways. We've got some folks lined up from Oculus as well as the Pew Research Institute who are going to, shed some light not only on the opportunities that technology can present within the space of adult education, but some key considerations to ensure that they narrow equity gaps as opposed to widening them. And finally, we'll close out the entire event with the announcement of the winners. And so, as I mentioned, we study Shark Tank and America's Got Talent very closely. So if you love those shows or have ever watched the finale, you will be inspired by what you see. That's all I can say. But we've really thought carefully and thoughtfully about what this event means. It's an opportunity to showcase the great work of these 10 finalists. We're inviting everybody that's on the webinar and others who weren't able to join us today to attend in person, where you'll be engaged as a contributor, and we hope to challenge your mind. So with that, I'm going to transition over to Sabrina, my colleague here at IEL, who's going to talk a little bit about everyday job heroes.
So, did someone help you write a resume for free? Does a colleague go out of their way to drive you to work? Did your teacher take out the time to help every single student in the class get an internship? I know probably someone comes to mind. Well, hold that thought. Minds That Move Us is looking for everyday job heroes. So we want you all to nominate a hero. And if this person is selected, they'll actually get a chance. They'll win 2 tickets from Southwest Airlines to the beautiful Miami Hilton for the festival on August 6th through the 8th. This is where we're going to talk about all the amazing things that these heroes are doing. And so also know that winners from South Florida are eligible and that they can use their tickets for personal travel. So you're wondering, well, how can I nominate? Well, you nominate your champion at the mindsthatmoveus.org, and you have to submit a 15-second video. Now, you see the deadline is July 15th, 2019. But see, what are the qualifications for you to nominate someone, right? Well, this has to be someone that's 18 years or older of age, an individual that basically does low to no cost, but are doing work that really benefits adults in his or her community. And so this person has to also have a strong commitment to supporting adults in his or her community to succeed in education, job training, and career pursuits. So what are some things that can be an example? Well, here are some, but they're not limited to these things as well. So someone who provides transportation, childcare, healthcare, maybe gives gives adults food, internships, helping with resume and interview preparation, internships, and maybe even job career coaching and placement. But keep in mind, it's not limited to these, but there are just some options. So remember, the deadline is July 15th. It has to be a 15-second video. I know you're probably thinking this is short, but I promise you it is not. And so we hope for you to nominate your heroes that you see every single day in your community.
Great, thank you, Sabrina. The everyday job heroes segment of this event is one that we're also very proud of and excited about, because the work of the 10 teams is really at the programmatic level. But as we all know, and as Sabrina mentioned in her remarks, there are individual people who usually go and float under the radar, who are doing things that cost no money or very little money, but have huge impact on the lives of the people that they touch. And they are absolutely critical to ensuring that adults in their community not only can prepare for the job, but obtain and advance within that job. And so we want to take this opportunity to recognize those everyday job heroes. And we encourage everybody on today's webinar to nominate somebody and spread the word. So what comes next? Ready, set, go. I love this slide. So there's 3 things that we want listeners to do. Number 1, book your hotel. Save your seat while seats are available. We're limiting this festival to roughly 250 people, and we want to make sure that all of you thought partners that are on the webinar today have an opportunity to participate in this robust conversation. So if you haven't done so already, please book your hotel at the Miami Hilton downtown. We have a link provided in this webinar deck. Additionally, make sure that you register so that we know you're officially coming and signed up to be there. If you've heard this conversation and you think, man, I got to be a part of this, I want to, I want my company, my organization to be a part of it, and you'd like to have an exhibition table, please follow the link provided on the deck. We'd love to be able to have you and your organization be a part of the event. And then finally, if you have any questions, concerns, things that you want to follow up on as a result of this webinar, please feel free to reach out to us at the email address provided, or you may call us. The number is 888-44-COAVE, and you're going to hit option 4 as you follow the prompts. So that's thing 1, reserving your seat so that you can attend in person. Secondly, nominate an everyday job hero by July 15th. If you just go to our website, which is mindsthatmoveus.org, you'll see plenty of information on how to do that. It's a pretty straightforward form, as well as a link to upload the 15-second video, and then spread the word to everybody you know, because we all know somebody who is touching the life of someone else. And then thirdly, follow us on our website and on social media for all the key updates on the agenda, the teams. The links to our Facebook and Twitter handles are provided within this PowerPoint deck. And we just want to say that, I touched on the highlights of what's going to happen on the festival, but certainly in the interest of time, I couldn't touch on them all. So following us to understand the progress and how the agenda is taking shape will be critical. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining in and for listening. I think we have some time for questions, if there are any. And so let me see if I can go to my window here. But if you do have a question, please feel free to reach out.
So I'm looking at the questions, Alicia, and I don't see any.
Okay.
If that helps.
Okay. Well, we'll give folks maybe another minute or two. But again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank our panelists, Monica, Pat, Sharon, Sabrina. I want to thank you as well for talking about the Everyday Job Heroes piece. We are thrilled to be running and partnering with each other on this project and this event, and we hope to see you in Miami.
Alicia, there's a question here. These links that you have, could you put them into the chat box over here?
Let's see, I can.
So I can, if it's just mindsthatmoveus.org, I can put that in.
Yes, if you don't. And we'll put an archive. Well, I think it's possible to send an archive of this to everybody who registered. Is that right, Sharon?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
It looks like we have some more questions. What's the name of the career coach in Miami?
Tanya, do you mind clarifying? We have 5 coaches who are part of the project, and they're coming from a mix of backgrounds, workforce and education. There is a team that's based in Miami, and they are paired with a coach, but that coach is not physically situated in Miami. I don't know if that answers your question. If not, just help us to understand which piece we're missing. Any other questions?
There are not any other questions, no?
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And just in terms of a couple of quick housekeeping items, everybody on today's webinar will receive an invitation to the event. That invitation will contain all of the links to the hotel, as well as how to register. And so if you have any questions or you run into any problems or you don't get that invite, please use the email box that was provided. I'll repeat it once again. It's mindsthatmoveus@coabe.org. Because we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to participate in this great event. With that, thank you and have a great afternoon, everybody.